Good evening. Let's try that again. Good. The mic, that's not working, is it? Pedro, can we get the mic? Good evening. Have any of you seen the new musical Spirited? It's a Christmas thing. We've seen Spirited? Yeah. If you ever see Spirited, it gives a whole new meaning to the words good evening. So you have to watch next Christmas, you'll have to watch Spirited. It's so good. It's a kind of a newer version of A Christmas Carol. So it's great. Great stuff. So I'll say it again. Good evening, but not in the spirited sense, which is a little bit crass. So at any rate, it's great to see you here. My name is Joel Allen. I'm the director of the McGovern Center, and it's a pleasure to be able to share with you the stories of immigration that we're going to hear today. As you know, as many of you know, we've been doing a theme of immigration this whole semester. So we did 2 debates on the question of immigration and amnesty, and then we had a panel discussion last week. Really went well with Ben Reddy and who works in Senator Thune's office, and a representative from ICE, 2 immigration attorneys, and we just had really valuable conversation. And so as we were planning this, someone made the comment, I think it was Julie Brookbank, we need to spend some time just hearing the voices of people that have been through the process. And if you know Julie, she's always got good ideas, and I thought that's perfect. We need to do that. And so that's what we're doing this evening. Let's hear the stories of people that have become new Americans in the last, it's recent. New Americans. So I'm really excited to share this with you. And I always like to talk a little bit about George McGovern because that's kind of what I do these days. And let's see, can we advance? Oh. Okay. Okay. I'm not getting it here. There we go. Okay. So Senator McGovern on immigration. I think of my grandparents who came from Ireland seeking a better life. Like so many others, they worked hard, raised families, and contributed to their communities. The story of immigration is the story of America, of hope, determination, and the belief that tomorrow can be a better day. And then to shut the door on immigrants is to shut the door on America itself. Our nation has always drawn strength from the courage and dreams of those who come here seeking freedom and opportunity. So I just thought that'd be a good idea to give a little tone to the evening with some thoughts and words of George McGovern. I think a lot of us resonate with those thoughts. And so Nico is going to start this evening. He's got a little baby in the hospital. It's a premature baby. And so his wife is in the hospital taking care of the little baby named Leo. And I couldn't believe Nico agreed to come. He's just come from the hospital and really wants to tell his story. So we're really looking forward to hearing from Nico.
You just talk about...
Tell your immigration story.
Sweet. Can I sit down?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. All right. Well, Joel asked me to share a little bit about just my time in the States and the whole process, which I'm very passionate about to some extent. Obviously, I work with some international students as well on the men's soccer team. And I think in general there's a little bit of a lack of education on the whole system. So I always love telling my story to kind of explain different parts of it and educate people more on it. So I came in 2015 as a college athlete, played in Nashville, Tennessee, played soccer, and studied, did a bachelor's degree. That was on a student visa, so the student visa is a non-immigrant visa that allows you to study in the States. It does not allow you to immigrate. It does not allow you to work off campus. You can work on campus, but not off campus. And then I did that for 3 years, graduated early a little bit, headed into my master's, still on the same student visa, finished my master's, was a graduate assistant, and then after that, every student visa comes with 1 year of work opportunity. It's called OPT, Optional Practical Training, so you can take that for a year. You can work for really anyone related to the field of study that you had in the past, 4 to 6 years. And you can then get 1 year of work experience. It's kind of a bridge to see, like, hey, if you go somewhere and work, maybe they will sponsor you and give you a work visa after your 1 year of work. That's what I did. I worked as the assistant coach at the school that I attended full-time, and then was offered to get a work visa and continue working there, and after that ended up getting married as well. I met someone, a softball player. We had dated for quite some time, and we got married in 2020, the summer of 2020. We wanted to get married in 2021, so we got engaged in April 2020, and then wanted to do the classic, 1 year of engagement. Let's plan everything out and make it really pretty and beautiful. And then COVID hit. And that was a little bit like a precautionary thing, because we were already engaged, then COVID hits, and then we talked to lawyers and we were like, is there really a possibility that the government might send some people home because of COVID or not? And we never really got a good answer, and kind of didn't want to chance it, and we said, if we're going to get married in a year anyways, we might as well do it now and not be scared. The only issue with that was, well, now I wouldn't call it an issue, but there were 8 people at our wedding, and it was absolutely amazing. I thought it was incredible. So I got married then, and that's when the whole green card process starts. So green card is just a vague term. There is multiple types of green cards. Work visa is technically a green card. It's just sponsored by your employer. A family visa, which is what you receive when you get married, is also a green card, but sponsored by the wife or the husband, the American part of it. And so that's when the whole process started of getting a green card. That took about 2 years. 2 years from application to receiving the green card. Then you need to hold the green card for a certain amount of time, and then it's called removal of condition. So after 3 years, basically the condition that you are still married is being removed, and you get a 10-year green card. Because the first 3 years is kind of like from the government perspective, it's a trial for, don't just get married to be married. Like, you got to still be together after 3 years. And so you go through that, and then got a renewal green card for 10 years. And then now I do have the green card for 10 years, but it's not valid anymore, because after another year, you can apply for citizenship, which is what I did right away, because it comes with so many more benefits in terms of the legal system and safety, and maybe even being able to enable my parents to come here for 6 months at a time. So got my citizenship this past December. It was beautiful. Citizenship ceremonies are amazing. At least mine was very nice. Now, yeah, we celebrated that, and now just a regular dual citizen. So, any questions?
Can you talk about your background in Germany and just where you were from and what brought you to the United States?
Yep. So, like I said, I grew up in Germany. I spent the first, 17 years of my life there. I was always into soccer. Played that ever since I remember being able to walk. And once you get to the end of high school, school and soccer is not combined like here. It's different. Two separate things. If you want to play soccer, you got to coordinate yourself how that works with school. By the time you get to studying, that's really hard to do, like to study and to play at the same time. And I didn't want to make a choice. I wanted to do both, which is what led me to come to the States. I was the first person in my family to do that. All of my family is still home. They visit me regularly, and I go home regularly. But I'm the only Reinhardt to be here, and with what you already said, it's kind of a neat feeling as well to have our family be growing now as well. We just had a boy, so it's really exciting. There's some, I don't know, sort of pride to extend the family to different cultures. So.
How much was your legal expense through the entire process?
Legal expense. Well, you have the application fees, which you pay to the government, and then you have the payment you give to your lawyer. There is an option to do it without your lawyer, which if anyone is in the process of doing that, I would not recommend not having a lawyer. Because if you just make one mistake, you get to do it again, and you get to pay again. So I think if you take everything, like from student visa to OPT to green card to citizenship, in the last 10 years, probably spend about 8 to 10K on getting to where I am right now.
I'm curious about when you changed from the student situation to the marriage situation. What happens to the job, or what did that change?
So the job usually it goes smooth, depending on how well it is timed. That's since I had an OPT, which is 1 year of work allowance. You get 1 year of work allowance once you apply for a green card. Like you get married, you apply for a green card. It takes like 6 months, and the first thing that comes back in the mail is you can work for a year until we get your green card. But since I already had an OPT, they didn't bother sending me another one. They just said you can continue to work on your student visa, and that should last you until the green card arrives. So it's called adjustment of status. There is scenarios where, like for me, it was lucky because I did an OPT right after I studied. There is scenarios where you would have to wait, 6 to 8 months in order to work again. But part of that is also part of the screening process, I would say, which I can talk about in a little bit. A lot of times, I like the way it's worded. You said voices of, what was it?
Voices of resilience.
Resilience, yes. So there is some sort of resilience in terms of having to be patient. I attended, 3 weeks ago, I attended one of the debates here, and I could go down the road of saying, it was crazy what they did. They took like 8 vials of blood from me, and having to pay so much money, and having to wait to work. But everything had a reason. So it was more resilience as in like patience. Like I understand now, depending on which country you come from, if you do carry some kind of disease that's not present in the United States, you have to be screened for that. So I understand the blood tests. I understand everything else they went through. What was really interesting is I filed my initial green card under one government, and then I filed my extension under another government. It was interesting how it can change of how much is requested, how much evidence. Because every time you file, there's evidence that's being requested. One government requested a lot more financial evidence to show that my wife would be able to support me since she is the primary sponsor. It requested bank statements and all of that. The other side barely requested anything. And that could be because it was just an extension. But it's very interesting to see how quickly it can change depending on which form of government is reigning.
As you're recruiting today from foreign countries, how much different is it today than it was a few years ago?
In terms of the legal system and visas, barely any different. It's a little bit more delayed now, so the visas are getting a little bit stocked up, and that it has been like that for the past 20 to 30 years. It's just getting longer and longer and longer to have to wait because more and more people want to come to the United States. I don't blame them. But in terms of, yeah, legally there's nothing really different that I can see. But in terms of this generation, the generation is a lot different. A lot. They are less internally driven, live into the day, less focused, generally. Less worried, which might not be a bad thing. So it's definitely a different generation than when I came, but legally there's not a lot of differences. In fact, it might have turned a bit better. I know there is STEM, like the OPT, you have a STEM OPT that's 3 years. So there's an option to work for 3 years instead of 1, depending on the field of study. So it just takes longer. Yep.
How do you handle moving away so far away from your parents at such a young age? And how do you when you recruit players, how do you able to help them in that?
Yeah, I didn't handle it well. I think a lot of my anxieties nowadays are separation anxieties or fear of losing someone or something. So 10 years after doing it, I realized my 17-year-old self probably did a lot, maybe too much. But it was worth it. Now I handle it a lot better. Honestly, my relationship with my parents is incredible. I think distance does something really beautiful to relationships because you choose your words more carefully when you get the chance to talk. So it's been amazing now. At the start it was hard. And now with the players that are coming in, they all go through cycles. I remember my cycles, you get homesick at the end of each semester because it's starting to get boring and you're overwhelmed. You're really excited when you first come. So I feel like I understand my players really well because I see them going through the same cycles. So I can give the appropriate response, knowing what cycles they're in terms of homesickness. I also try to serve them to feel less homesick. I really like our cafeteria, but I know that it can get boring for people that eat in there all the time. I've had guys that are homesick and invited them for a home-cooked meal instead. I'm probably not really good at making Irish meals, but I can make German meals. So if the Germans get homesick, I make them a German meal, try to get them off campus, try to distract them. But my own experience definitely helps me be a better coach in terms of man management.
Two questions for you, Nico. Did your status change at all in Germany when you became a U.S. citizen, or is everything still the same? And the other question is, do your students come here seeking to stay in the United States? Is that their goal?
So first question, it did not, and I was very lucky. Germany, up until June of this past year, Germany had a law that you would have to fly home and get permission from the government to obtain dual citizenship, which I was not willing to do. I would have just continued to be on my green card. But June last year, Germany got rid of that law and said if you want to be a dual citizen now, you can do that without having to ask us, which is when I applied for dual citizenship. So now, yes, you can. Now you want to be a dual citizen, you can be a dual citizen. Before it did not, you would need permission. The second question, the legal answer is no. They cannot come with an intent to immigrate on a non-immigrant visa. the realistic answer is they probably dream of it. They probably think, you know, if I do really well playing soccer and studying, and if I like it, just like myself, maybe if I meet someone or if I find a really nice workplace, it's definitely, I think, a possibility in their head to want to stay in the United States, but legally it can't be an actual intent to immigrate on a non-immigrant visa.
Has your perception of the United States changed at all under presidential leaders?
That's a great question. It's a mean question. Yes, it has. I'm not going to elaborate, but it has. Yep.
Yeah, there's some exception instances when a non-immigrant visa, like in the medical field, you can have a waiver. It's called a new law that was passed a couple of years ago, the Conrad 30 state bill, that would allow a physician who came here with educational visa or working visa, they will be sponsored. Like, for example, with Avera, we do have physicians who are under working visa or exchange visa who applied for a waiver. In fact, 2 of them just was inducted as citizens after 5 years waiver.
Yep. Yeah, that's I would put that under the like STEM area. I know that the United States has different visa rules for very specialized fields like the medical field or the technology field because it attracts high quality, you know, workers. So there used to be, I don't know if it's still there, I asked John this, there used to be a J1 visa, a seasonal worker visa as well to help farmers and all of that. But I think it was kind of slowed down during COVID as well to minimize the travel.
The reasoning for that is it is anticipated that there will be approximately 150,000 physician shortage in America. 150,000. And about 25 to 30% of that are international medical graduates. With the new immigration law, the gap is getting bigger. U.S. population is growing about 10.2%, but the supply of medical people, physicians, is only growing about 4 to 5%. You limit the international medical graduate, and you're limiting those students from Dakota Wesleyan going to medical school. In fact, we have 2 of them who are in freshman medical students. We have 5 of them from Mitchell, which I'm very proud of. So that would help the manpower shortage by, number 1 is immigration law, of course. And then the new laws that's being passed about the Conrad 30 bill, the waiver, and then the amount of medical students and residents, not only American graduates, but Americans who graduated from Grenada, Philippines. By the way, number 1 contributor is India. India is the number 1 population of the world, at about 1.5 billion. Second, China, about 1.3 billion. USA is about 300 plus billion, a million. Philippines is about 120 million. We're number 12 from the Philippines.
Yeah.
So we hope that these laws will help the immigrants coming over to pursue education, not only the medical field, but other related fields.
Yep. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yep. I do want to, one time, I feel the need to clarify that. with trying not to reveal which side I'm leaning. But what the general population right now believes, which side is like worse for immigration, I made the whole opposite experience, which is, again, it might be a personalized experience, but my experience was easier and faster and more efficient under the current government than before. Yep.
There is some news about students who are being sent home.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that as to why they are being sent and the criteria behind it as to why they will be chosen to send back?
Yeah. Can I explain it with confidence? No. I wish John would be here because he knows all, the women's coach, he knows all the laws. I've learned growing up in a different country not to trust the news a lot in this country. It's so much different than in most countries I've been in, the news system here. And I've learned that I need to do a lot more individual research here than at home. I doubt that students are being sent home for no reason. There's multiple ways to break your student visa. For example, by showing an intent of immigration, by getting, a really simple example is if somebody gets written up by the police here for drinking underage, you go home over Christmas, you come back, that's going to be on your record, so then the immigration officer at the border will ask you about it. Probably not send you home for the first time, but what I've always said is, and it's really interesting to say that now that I am a dual citizen, but I always tell my international guys, you have to behave like you're a guest in this country. You have to, and even still feel this way, although I'm technically not anymore. And if students don't behave like guests in this country, and they do break their intent to not immigrate or their visa regulations, which could be, if someone works off campus, that's, you have now hurt your visa status. So without knowing the specific examples that you said, I believe that they're not being sent home without a reason. There's probably some reason where they broke the contract of their visa.
Okay, how do you feel about peaceful protests on campuses where there are certain students that are being sent home because they might say something the government doesn't agree with politically?
Yeah, I don't know which example. I think the way you word it, I would agree with you. Peaceful protest sounds pretty good to me. Peaceful protest looks different for you maybe than it looks for me or for someone else. I don't know the specific example. But if it was a peaceful protest, I guess it should be good.
Colombia with Gaza.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know that. I didn't see that. Yep. Sounds good. Amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate it very much, Nico. Esther, would you come and share your story with us? Esther is an accountant now with Clockworks. Graduated last year from Dakota Wesleyan in accounting. So come and share your story, Esther.
Hello. My story is a little different. I am actually born here in the United States, but my parents came to the United States illegal. When they came, the stories I heard from my family was poverty. Really, really bad poverty, that they had to learn how to survive as 8-year-old kids. So when they were able to change their life for a better living, they thought the United States was easier for them to come and change their life for a better. They came, they crossed the border from Mexico, and actually they met each other here. And I'm from the state of Kansas. So throughout the years, I never really understood their immigration life because I was born here. I didn't understand everything. But when I was actually here for freshman year, I had a government class, and there was a question or something happened, and we were talking about immigration. And I was in class of Professor Flynn, and I had asked my parents, what happened? How did you guys become U.S. citizens? What was it? And so they said in 1988 there was like an MSD or something like that happened, and that's when they were able to fix their papers. I was born in that year. So like I told Professor Allen, to me, I remember seeing a big old courthouse, a lot of steps, but I was a little girl when my parents became U.S. citizens. I was probably 5 years old maybe, if not less, younger. I would, about 91, 92, I think, around there. I don't remember exactly the year that they became U.S. citizens off my head right now, so to be honest. But I do remember that they said it was in 88 around there that happened. I'm like, I was born around there, that time frame. But, just hearing, when people talk about people coming from Mexico and coming from El Salvador and Guatemala, that's where I come from. And originally, that's where my blood comes from. I see, people say about drugs, the cartels, and some people don't want that life. Some people were born in that situations that wouldn't want that situation to happen. Poverty is really high in places that people don't see it. We see Acapulco, we see, the popular places, because money comes in thanks to everybody that is a tourism there. So it's nicer. But the little countries, the little towns, that's where the poverty is. And that's where the illegal actions happen. And sometimes these illegal actions that happen is not the best thing here. I was told, actually, there was a debate, something, and I was, talking about it with my father. And they're like, they blame Mexico because of the drugs, of the cocaine and this and that. It's like, Mexico can't even produce that kind of drug in their land. It comes from farther down south. We are all Hispanics, but we are not all Mexicans. We're not, people categorize us all as one, but in reality, we're not all as one. And that's the thing, is that they look at us differently, because I'll be honest, I work in the library, and there's a gentleman that would go in there, and he's all like, he would sit there and talk about Indians and so forth from here. And then he goes, well, what tribe are you from? He told me, what tribe are you from? And I go, I'm not from an Indian. I go, I am Hispanic, I'm Mexican. My parents are from Mexico. And then he started debating, then after that, he started debating me about Mexico. And I'm like, do you want to just argue with me about stuff? I told him, I go, you can sit here and argue all you want, because I don't have nothing to tell you. But just because of my color, of my skin, he was already putting me a label. And that was sad, because he didn't know I was born here in the United States. He had no clue in reality. He just, because of my skin color, he thought, oh, she's Indian. And then when I told him the reality, oh no, now you're illegal. That's how he looked at me. And it was sad. But I was like, no, I'm here in this school because I'm legal. I have everything, every right to do this stuff. But that's where I say my story is different, because I had the opportunity, thanks to my parents becoming, doing it the wrong way, because they didn't have the money to, get the paperwork done from over there, to be able to get the way, the legal way to be here. Like I told Dr. Allen, my mom, she was my understanding, she was rich. But due to the reason her dad died when she was like 6 years old, and her family, his side of the family, took everything from them. So the little bit that they were able to do, they got up, they left that town, and they came to Juarez, Mexico, and they made a living there. I had 13 aunts and uncles, and my grandma. That's how many kids they were left with. My mom, Professor Flynn, has eaten my mom's tamales, and some other, employers here. And my mom had to learn how to cook since she was 6 years old to survive, to help provide for her family, her brothers and sisters, the ones that were younger. She said she would walk miles to attend school, and sometimes to try to, if she was able to get on the bus, if they let her, because there was times that they didn't have money, so she couldn't get on a bus. But she always wanted to, progress and be better, so she would run to get to a school. When she came here and she was able to get, her citizenship, she was able to do a 1.5 years of college. She got her GED and everything. Both of my parents did. But life and children and so forth, she was never able to pursue her education more. And that's where I become the first generation of a university student. Any questions? Yes. Racism is everywhere. It doesn't matter where you're at. Where I came from is a big Hispanic culture. So here was different. There's more American Indians and so forth. So you see there is racism, but you as yourself have to believe in you to overcome that. That's how I look at it. If I don't believe in myself and I let that stuff go in my head, then that's where you're wrong and you let racism hit you. That's my way.
So where did you move here from?
Kansas.
Kansas.
Yes.
Do you
So
know where your parents crossed the border?
to be honest, I don't think so. My mom's from Juarez, so maybe from El Paso in that section. But my dad was from farther down south. He was actually from Chihuahua also, but he was closer to Durango. And I don't know if he could have done any section of the border there. I don't know. I've never really sat down and talked to them about life as much because I don't see them. I see them like they brought us to give us a better life. Because eventually that's what they did. They tried to provide for a better future for themselves, for their mom, for their families, which, like I had explained to you, my dad was young, and may my grandma rest in peace. I never knew the lady, but she was really, really mean. And my dad was young, and he had to learn how to defend for himself. Sometimes she wouldn't feed them because she was so mean. And as young kids, they had to learn. So my dad learned, and he would help feed his own brothers and sisters. He had cousins and aunts and stuff that took him in. So he actually sees them as family more than his mom that she passed away, but yeah. But it's little things that we don't see the culture of the families and peoples and why they decide to come here. Like in Salvador, those gangs, people probably are born in some of that. They don't mean to be born in it, but they want to run away from it. Because there's that stuff happens here in the United States. It's just we don't see it as much. And drugs and stuff, that all is all over the world. It's something that we will never be able to, I don't think, stop. Because a prescription pill is a drug if you don't use it correctly. So that's the sad thing, is that, they push it to one way and another for people to look bad, but in reality, you never know who's doing it. That's how. Any questions? Any more? Yes.
Esther, you have children, correct?
Yes.
What are your hopes for your children?
My hopes for my children is for them to learn, to not judge a book by its cover, to learn to see from where our life has been, our past ancestries, to what we are now. I came to school. I taught my kids that school's possible. I'm working a full-time job. I work full-time and part-time. I'll tell you that. I work full-time at Clockworks as an accountant, and I work part-time still here at the DW library. I still do that. So I'm showing them that there's opportunities, that there's hope. That's how I look at them. Yes.
I'd like to know about your identity. Like, when you see yourself, do you see yourself as American, Mexican-American? Was there any the challenges between you and your parents, the family sort of, being born in Mexico and coming here, where you being born here, and then how did you kind of experience that, and how did it affect you?
I consider myself Mexican-American. I'm American because I was born here, but in reality, my blood is from Mexico. In 2012, I lived in Juarez for 6 months. I loved it because I had family there. I mean, I'm not going to say I didn't, but economically, I had 2 little kids. It was hard. Construction there. I have an uncle that does construction. Is $100 a week. That's how much it is, construction-wise. Those hard people working, putting, houses up. I mean, doing like a building like this per week. If you get $100 a week, you barely survive over there. It's possible, but that's why a lot of people that have the ability come to the border to work and then live over there, because it's so hard economically to survive. When I lived there with my 2 kids, my mom actually worked her job and a half, actually. She worked a lot of overtime to help me. I wanted to work here in the United States, and I lived over there for I could understand myself as a person, and also help my grandma and my uncles, which 2 of them already passed away. I still have my grandma, but I wanted to help my family that was over there that needed help. And it was hard because of the little kids. I didn't trust people. So I couldn't leave my kids by themselves for me to go work. I had family, but I still didn't know them all. I didn't grow up with them, so it was hard. But when I saw the reality of how much it is, how, to make sure my kids had their milk or their diapers, everything, I said, after 6 months, I can't live like that. I decided, I'm like, I can't, Mom, I'm here to help your brothers and sisters and so forth. And my grandma, I go, but you're working like crazy. I go, and I need to do something better. So I decided to come back. But in reality, it's hard. Yes.
How did you get to Dakota, Wesleyan?
My sister, ex-husband, was working at the pet plant that they were constructing years ago. Pet performance, yes. And she liked it. She came to visit and liked it. So she moved here and moved everybody here. And years ago, about 10 years ago, I followed. I love the environment. I love the quietness. Like I said, I came from a really big Hispanic culture of a town. But with that, where I live, there's 10 hours to get to Mexico and 10 hours to drive here. Halfway point where you could have drugs, gangs, everything there. I grew up in a place I knew gang members. Actually, the RICO Act hit in my town of Dodge City, Kansas. I didn't know what it was until I started learning law. People that I grew up with were in that RICO Act. I didn't want my kids to grow up like that. I wanted something better. So when I came here to visit, I loved the environment. I loved the people. I really loved how the community is, how helpful it is here. And I mean, just the quietness, how my kids tell me, I don't want to move. I tell them, what about if we go to Sioux Falls, a better opportunity? Nope, not until I graduate. They love it here. So.
Are your kids involved in extracurricular activities?
Yes. Actually, I have my middle child's back there, Martin. He is a tennis player. He plays band, choir. He's a middle schooler. I have my oldest is an 8th grader. She's going to go into 9th grade, and she said band wasn't for her, but she did band from 5th grade till 8th. So she's going to do the color guard this coming year. She plays tennis. She's 14 and wants to get a job to help me make her dream come true of her quinceañera. So I'm like, you don't have to help me to do that, but she goes, no, any money I make, that's what I want to do, Mom, to give my dream. I told her, my dream, I didn't have one. As a Hispanic, it's a beautiful thing, and I didn't have one for my 15th. So my firstborn, I would love to throw the whole house away. But one day, maybe it's possible. She'll be 15 this November, and our hopes is for next year, before she turns 16, we'll be able to make it possible. Yeah. I have a little 6-year-old that was a NICU baby, and she was my miracle baby. So she was born at 26 weeks. So she's actually, for all her odds, she's healthy. I mean, for what God has given us. She has lung issues, but asthma is one thing that she'll have forever. And she will always wear glasses forever. But she's a kid that doesn't stop. She's energetic. And she keeps me on my toes. But seeing my kids when they saw me graduate was the best thing ever in life. So, yes.
Wow. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Esther. And if you were here to hear John Hakari speak about immigration law, I feel like I've learned some things, because I have a suspicion Esther will have to talk about this with John. If it was the 245I law that he was talking about the other day that allowed people who were here illegally to pay a fine and then get on legal status to start pursuing a green card. Citizens. So I'm wondering if it was that law, because he said it was enacted late 80s to the early 2000s, so it would fit. Yeah. And John said that if there was one thing he could change, it would be to reenact a law like the 245I. It was very successful. So next is Alejandro Barona Ayala is going to speak. He's from El Salvador. He plays the guitar in our church and has had some interesting experiences of late. can I just announce that he is a very recent green card holder, just received the green card. He'll show you a picture of it on his phone. We were all around him in church just the other day like, yes! So we're very excited for Alejandro.
Hello everyone. I want to tell everyone my story this afternoon. My name is Alexander Barahona, and I'm from El Salvador, and I have 12 years in the United States already. How it started that I came to the U.S. is because when I was little, El Salvador was a really violent country, which a way to live was be a gang member. Like for you guys, it's normal to have a career as professional. Being a gang member was something like that in my country. So, and then I come from a poor family, but very Christian. And they always, we grew up in the church. I was serving in the worship team too in El Salvador. And the violence going really bad, and then there was grabbing more teenagers for the gangs there. You know, the gangs members, they trying to make more big the gang. So, and then they told me one day, oh, you looks good for do this or something in our organization, and we want you to come inside. And then I was like, no, I can't. They say, why? Because I'm Christian, I'm in the church. And they say, no, that's not a problem. You can keep going for the church, but you will helping us with this. And I was like, no, because my parents. And then the violence was really bad. The point, if you as a parent, you don't want your kid going inside the gang, they kill the parent. So when someone say my dad won't approve me, or this is not good, the gang members say, okay, don't worry, I will go to talk to your parents, and they will not say nothing. And they come for the house and they say, okay, we want he work for us. If the parents say no, they kill right away for the parents. Because they want the youngest and the gangster and the gangs and the gang. So that what happened with me, and then they say like, okay, they don't say no and they don't say yes. It's your decision. We're gonna give you 24 hours for you to decide. If you say no, you better go digging a hole in the cemetery because you'll die. So my mom was crying, and then she had a family, and she trying to make a loan for me to come out of country. Because wherever you move, if you move inside the country, wherever you move, they have connections. Wherever you go, they will get you. So at that point, my mom told me, you know, that's really sad, and I won't like you to leave, but I prefer see you in a video call and not going to see you to the cemetery. I was like, I think like 18 to 17, 18 years to turning to 19 around. So, and then before, that was the day before. So the next day in the morning, I leave before the morning come. She found the money, she borrowed the money, and then I come to the United States. At that time, I don't know that I need to speak English. I don't know how life would be here. They just told me, come inside the car, and keep going. So when that happened, I crossed to Mexico, and I arrived to Reynosa, Tamaulipas, and they kidnapped me in Reynosa for 2.5 months. So we was in a truck. They stopped the truck, and was like 5 people over there with me. So everybody kidnapped, and they brought for other place. So at that time, my family don't know anything about me for 2.5 months. They thought I was die already, because when someone comes to other country, they usually spend like 1 month, 2.5 months to arrive here. So if they don't know anything about you after 1 month, they assume that you are die. So, and after that, they asking for money, and they dealing, and they let me come. And then they had me in McAllen for another month, kidnapped. And then without food, without water, for that time, that was 3.5 months for all. And then I need to walk the desert in bad conditions, where a lot of people who came, like parents and major people, falling on the floor for the dehydrator. They crying, and they always say, my son, my daughter, my wife in Mexico, etc. Once I arrived here, how hard was when I arrived, because I don't speak any English. So, and I live in Kansas, in Emporia. And there's like a Spanish community, but it's not too big. So you have to speak English to go outside and see what to do. So, and then I found, with help, a job as a cook in a restaurant. And I work in like 12 to 14 hours daily, Sunday to Sunday, because I had to pay the loan my mom did for me. Yeah, I need to pay back. So, and then the restaurant paid me $5 per hour, $5 per hour. What the minimum was $8.50. So, and when I told for the boss, can I have a raise, like maybe $10 more, 20? He told me, do you want a job? Do you want to work or no? Yeah. Okay, if you want to work, be quiet, keep doing it. If you don't want, there's the door. And then I have to stay like that for like 4 years. Without car, I have to walk the winter under zero, without winter clothes. And I cannot buy anything because I need to join the money to pay back. So after that, I ran from them, and I go to Virginia. I have a cousin, and he helped me to go over there. And then I have a job in construction. After this job done, my cousin, he moved before that, so I don't have any way to survive to myself. And then I need to come back to Emporia, Kansas again, because I don't have anyone to help me. And then when I back, I work in a restaurant again, because that's a problem. Like when you are illegal, you don't have opportunity. Maybe you have one, maybe, and if people mistreat you, you have no option. You need to be there no matter what. And then I come back, and there is where I met my wife Tessa, and we start talking with her, and she was studying in the college at that time, and then the things going good at that time with her, and we starting to talk more. And when I see like that we're going for something else, I need to talk to her my situation, because I don't want to, like, she thinks something, and later like I come in and tell my truth, so I need to tell the truth right away. And that time she told me, hey, I love you so much, but I have something to tell you. And I was sad, because normally when you tell this for someone else, everybody run away. Because the perception as Spanish, a lot of people see Spanish as criminals. Even when people didn't do anything, but it's like how people know, like people scary. Because different people have different visions. So, and then I told for her, I love you so much, but what happened is I'm not legal. And if you want to go, you can. I understand. Because I was ready, because I was 100% that she would leave in my mind. So, and she said, nah, really? And how come? And I explained for her. And then she said, okay, I don't care if you're a good person, I be here. So I was super happy, because I never thought she would think that way. And then I got, after 3 months to 4 months, we got married. Like that fast, 3 months, 4 months. And then we know that exists a way to become legal, because she's my wife. And then we start to see how the process would be, and how much money the process, how long, and what the requirement the government needed for it. And then we start to do that, and they tell is for 1 year and 3 months. And at the beginning was like $10,000 for all. But later things changed. And later we had the pandemic. And later president changed, the country changed president. And that have another changes over there. So in the end, I stuck for 6 years. And I cannot do anything, because for everything you need your ID or your social. social security number. And then and then my wife started to live that life with me too, because a lot of times, like for example, one time we want to go for the movie theater to see one movie together for my birthday, and we cannot go because they want my ID. And they say, no, but we got her ID. She's my wife. And they say, yeah, I understand. I have your ID. I can let go her, but not you. Hey, okay, so I need to back and live that way for all these years. So, and then she was surprised because she was like, wow, I don't understand why it's that way. And then when my process is ready, I need to leave for El Salvador. God, for the government give me my residence, I need to leave the country. That's a damn requirement. And the dangers in that point is you can leave, that's for sure, but that you back is not for sure, because when you are in your country, they can say, oh no, we decide not to give you. And then that was sad, because at that point I have 3 beautiful babies already. And we have a home, and I was like, what about if I go? And when I arrive over there, they tell me no. And sometimes people think, but you're in the country. And I was like, yeah, but now I have a family. I have babies. I am a dad right now. So, and I was not able to help them as a dad. And, you know, that's hard, the situation. Because in all these years, living in that way, my wife have to work. She support us in different ways, and her family too. They are be pretty helpful with us, with the babies, and everything. If not, the situation turn more bad, because there is a lot of things to pay with babies. So, and then that's the point. And I need to live, and I live, and thank God that everything goes good over there in the embassy. And then, like, I have someone I know that had a friend here in town that she told me one time, I know, Alex, I know why you don't want to work. I got you. I say, why? Because you don't want to pay taxes, huh? Like, oh, really, do you think? Yeah. That's why you want just Tesla work. You're smart. Said, no. Why you don't get your paperwork and go for work? And I said, you know, I will tell you, I have like 4 years already, 5 years in the process, and I cannot have it. We already spent $12,000, and I cannot have anything, because the government, you can sign in and do the process, but that doesn't mean that you have it. Doesn't give you any privilege until you have it. So you cannot work. If you work and then they decide not to give you because you are breaking the rules. So you need to stay in your house sitting for 6 years and just over there. And then when you go for the street, some people that have different education, different ideas, different visions, they treat you different too. I have an experience too here in Mitchell. I was walking by the high school park, and one lady, I was walking around the park, talking with my mom, and the lady started screaming at me. She said, "What are you doing talking Spanish? What are you doing here? You need to leave the country. We don't want people like you here, criminals." Blah, blah. I was like, I was afraid because she was an old lady. And what happened if a resident, citizen, called police because they think that police will arrest you and will treat you like a criminal no matter what, even if you didn't do anything, because the police will defend the citizen. So I called to my wife and I said, "Hey, this happened to me, you know." They're like, "What?" "Yeah." So I'm running back for the home. I'm scared the lady called the police. I was just walking. So that's why so many times I'm scared to go outside. And if I see people, I better not talk in Spanish too. Because, you know, everyone have a different education about. And then, so the other thing is, when you're illegal, like now my situation with the babies, if I don't bring the babies for school, I am trouble to see what happened, why the baby don't come today. But if I drive, I'm in trouble too. So you always driving is scary, the police, because if the police stop for you, that's bad because you need to pay no license, need to pay court. If they take your car, you need to pay the parking too. So you need to have like some amount of money ready for whatever. And then now that I have like other people say, why you guys don't do the thing for the right way? Why you guys don't make it legal to come here? Because that friend say, no, and the internet say you can apply and you can do this. In the internet, that looks beautiful. But in the real life, I have a brother-in-law that he had all the requirements for a visa. And he applied, he did anything, he paid everything, and at the end they tell no. So for you have a opportunity to come here, you have to have wife, you have to have a house as an owner, you need to have $3,000 to $6,000 in your bank account, and another things more, like the most people in those countries are poor, so if they make it to pay the process and the trip, they won't have an extra $6,000 in the account. So it's something impossible. And that some people don't understand because they never been at that point. Like, for example, in my process for 6 years, I spent over $18,000 to $20,000. Yeah, for that. And then, now that I have my permanent resident, I'm so happy because right now I just got the Social Security and I going to get my driver license. And I was very surprised because I always ready for people mistreat me, because I lived that way for a lot of years, and that became normal when that happened often. When I go for the driver license place, I come home very surprised, and I was like, oh my gosh, these people treat me with respect, they're so kind, I can't believe it. That was beautiful. Yeah, and now I can drive, if I drive in the night, or if my wife needs help because she's tired, I can drive and we're not afraid. Because now if the police stop, I have the license, so that's really peaceful, and that's amazing, honestly.
Also, I think a few questions.
Do you guys have questions?
Yeah, Alex, so what do you think about the situation in El Salvador prison right now with there's an inmate in there that is El Salvadorian, but he has no criminal background, and they were, they hauled a plane full over to the prison. It's been in the news, and the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that to bring him back, but not going to right now.
Yeah. Right now, that's for the country over there. It's a really good thing because the violence disappear. Not at all, but the more high how it was before to now, that's really good because right now you can walk in the street and you can walk like comfortable and no one come to say anything. Before, if you're walking wherever you go, they go, if you have nice shoes, they go and say, hey, we are, and they make a symbol and say, take off your shoes. And you say, why? Because we say, yeah. And even like if you go for a alley or a road and you don't know, you can go in, but you cannot come out. They kill you. They don't let you leave because they think you are investigating them by some other gang members. They take care of the territory. And anyway, even the people come inside for the markets and they need to pay a fee for come inside and come outside. Even like some people like say, I believe in the police now that I am here because I see, but in my country, when you call the police, that's a bad idea before. Because the police live in the same town sometime, and the gang members know their wife and sons. So the gang members say, okay, you're the police, we want to steal money for these people at that time. If you're here, you be silent and don't do not anything. If not, we kill your son or your daughter. And then the police ending helping to the gangs. That's why anyone called the police. Because a lot of times, because the police told, oh, these people call me, they go and kill the people just because they...
Well, that happens in America a lot, too.
That happened to them.
That we don't know about.
Wow.
Any questions for Alex? Any questions for Alex? Alex, do you have any final words for us?
Final.
Like last things you want to say?
No, I'm done.
You're done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you, Alex. I did have another slide here. And the slide only said, hey, thank you for coming. This has been a great time for me. We've really enjoyed exploring the issue of immigration. There's a lot of cookies and coffee back there if you want a cup of coffee. I think there's some decaf. And there's also a sign-up sheet. If you don't get my regular emails, updates, you can put your email address on the sign-up sheet and you will get them. So thank you so much for coming, and we're going to have a full slate in the fall of, we haven't decided on the theme. So if you have any ideas for a good theme for the fall, let me know, and we will consider taking that on. So thank you for coming this evening, and thank you to all of our speakers.